Welcome to Charles Travels, the podcast where we explore the world and all its wonders. I'm your host, Charles, and I'm excited to share another fascinating story with you today. But before we embark on our journey, let's take a look at a disturbing tale that has nothing to do with travel, but everything to do with the human condition. Imagine a place where the vulnerable are left to fend for themselves, where the powerful prioritize protection from lawsuits over protecting children. This is the shocking reality that has come to light in the Assemblies of God Church, a Christian denomination with a dark history of covering up child abuse and silencing survivors. According to a recent investigation, the church has consistently put its own interests ahead of the well-being of its most vulnerable members. Despite numerous allegations of abuse, pastors and church leaders have been allowed to continue preaching, often with little to no consequences for their actions. The victims, on the other hand, have been left to pick up the pieces and try to make sense of the trauma they've endured. One survivor, Cheryl Almond, shared her heartbreaking story of being molested by her pastor as a teenager in the late 1970s. What's even more shocking is that her abuser was allowed to continue preaching for years, despite multiple allegations of abuse. The church's response? Silence and cover-ups. As we delve deeper into this story, it becomes clear that the Assemblies of God Church has a long history of prioritizing its own reputation over the safety and well-being of its members. In 2021, the church rejected a resolution that would have added language to its bylaws, stating that credentialed ministers or churches could be expelled or disciplined for failing to enforce safeguards like background checks and mandatory reporting of abuse. The reason? The church's lawyers warned that it could expose them to costly lawsuits. It's a staggering example of how the pursuit of wealth and power can lead institutions to abandon their moral compass. As we travel through the world, we often encounter stories of resilience and hope. But we also stumble upon darker tales of human nature, like this one. It's a reminder that even in the most unexpected places, there is always more to the story than meets the eye. We'll be right back with more fascinating travel adventures on Charles Travels. Welcome back to Charles Travels, where we explore the heart of America and beyond. Today, we're taking a journey to the Emerald Isle, where the rolling hills and rugged coastlines are home to a unique set of challenges for commuters. In County Wicklow, Ireland, the trains that connect rural towns to Dublin City are often overcrowded, infrequent, and old. I recently came across a story in the Irish Times that caught my attention, and I'd like to share it with you. It's 6:03 a.m. on a Wednesday at Rathdrum railway station, and the scene is grim. A derelict building stands at the entrance, with rotting plywood covering the doors and windows. The lights on the southbound platform flicker on occasionally, illuminating empty alcohol containers and a temporary metal fence around a construction site. This is where Calla the Aigirtai waits for the 7005 named train to take her to college in Bray. She's arrived early, knowing that the later train would leave her with no hope of a seat. As I delved deeper into the story, I met Abigail Byrne, who was also waiting for the same train. She told me that the evening commute is even worse, with passengers often standing for hours on end. Delia Termini, an American expat, travels to Dublin with her partner most days and has written to the National Transport Authority about the crowding on the route. Her concerns have fallen on deaf ears, and she's witnessed 2 women fainting due to the overcrowding in September. The stories of these commuters are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the challenges they face daily, they continue to make their way to work, to college, and to their destinations. Cornel Shabati, who recently started a job in Bray, says he couldn't manage without the service, but getting a seat is another story altogether. His friend Aaron Carenduff stood every day during his first 2 weeks of college, and passengers often place themselves in the aisles or sit on the floor near the doorway. As I reflect on these stories, I'm reminded of the importance of community and the power of individual experiences. The commuters of County Wicklow are not just statistics or news headlines. They're people with families, jobs, and dreams. They deserve better than to be packed like sardines into old trains with no hope of a seat. Welcome back to Charles Travels. As we wrap up our journey for today, I want to take a moment to reflect on the power of words and how they shape our conversations. You know, as travelers, we're often struck by the diverse ways people express themselves. And one word that's been on my mind lately is honestly. It's a term we use to convey authenticity, to signal that what we're about to say is genuine and true. But have you ever stopped to think about how honestly has evolved over time? From its roots in Latin, meaning honorable, to its modern-day usage as a phrase to soften a harsh critique or express emotional vulnerability. It's fascinating to consider how this word has become a linguistic thread that weaves through our conversations, often without us even realizing it. I spoke with Christian Miller, a philosophy professor who studied the concept of honesty, and he shared some insightful thoughts on how honestly has expanded its meaning over time. He explained that it's not just about moral truthfulness, but also about conveying emotional charge or tinge to a conversation. And Amanda Brennan, a linguist, added that for young people, honestly can be a crutch word, giving them a moment to figure out their thoughts before expressing themselves. As I traveled through the world of words, I couldn't help but wonder, are we actually being honest when we use this term? Or is it just a way to signal to others that we're about to share something authentic? Miller argues that while there may be some bad actors who skew the average, most people don't lie most of the time. And Brennan admits that she uses honestly, earnestly in her life, hoping to convey her genuine emotions to others. As we close out today's journey, I want to leave you with a thought. In a world where social media scrutiny and cancel culture can make us feel like we're under a microscope, perhaps our use of honestly is a way to push back against the noise and express our true selves. It's a reminder that words have power, and how we choose to use them can shape not only our conversations, but also our relationships and our sense of self. That's all for today's Charles Travels. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, keep on traveling.